Okay, so this is an introduction to philosophy. And the meaning of the word philosophy is the love of wisdom or truth, which comes from the Greek. And there are 3 sections of philosophy that we're going to be studying in the OCR exam. And the first section is epistemology, which is the study of knowledge. In other words, what can we know and how can we know it? There are 2 schools of thought within epistemology that you need to be aware of. The first one is empiricism. Empiricists claim that significant knowledge can only be gained via sense experience. So that's things like observation, touch, and smell. And our scholar primarily for empiricism at the beginning of the course will be Aristotle. Knowledge gained through sense experience is called a posteriori, or empirical knowledge. The evidence for this knowledge is called empirical evidence. So how might an empiricist test the truth of the claim, there is a chocolate muffin in the cupboard? They would use their senses. So they might go and have a look in the cupboard and see if there really is a chocolate muffin in the cupboard. And if there is, they would know that the claim is correct. The other school of thought is rationalism. Now, rationalists claim that significant knowledge can be gained without sense experience. That means through reason, logic, or innately from birth, which is what Plato will be arguing, our first scholar that we'll be looking at. Knowledge gained through reason is called a priori, or innate knowledge. The rational argument used to obtain this knowledge is called an a priori argument. So, for example, we could discover whether the claim the chocolate-flavoured muffin has cocoa in it is true without using our senses. We might start off with the first premise, a first claim, that if something is chocolate-flavoured, it has cocoa in it. Our second premise, or our second claim, would be the muffin is chocolate-flavoured. And our conclusion would follow logically from those 2 premises. So if something is chocolate-flavoured, it has cocoa in it. The muffin is chocolate-flavoured, therefore the conclusion is the muffin has cocoa in it. The premises are true by definition, and the conclusion follows logically from the premises. This type of argument is called a deductive argument, as the conclusion is deduced from the premises without the use of any sense experience. One of the more famous deductive arguments in philosophy goes like this. Socrates is a man. All men are mortal. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. A deductive argument is valid if its conclusion follows logically from the premises. So that's one thing to test to see if it's a good deductive argument. And secondly, the other thing to check is to see if the argument is sound. A sound deductive argument is one that is valid, so the conclusion follows logically from the premises, but it is also one that has true claims or true premises. So if an argument has true premises and it is valid, it is then a sound argument. And this is what you're really looking for with deductive arguments. You want them to be valid and to have true premises. In other words, to be sound. And the second section of philosophy that we will be dealing with is that of ontology, which is the study of existence. In other words, what sorts of things exist. And we're going to be particularly looking at the existence of God. There are 2 schools of thought within this that we need to be aware of. The first is materialism. Materialists claim that only physical, extended, that means space-occupying things exist. And so things like statues, wax, bodies, trees, etc. And the other school of thought that we'll be looking at is dualism. Now, dualists claim that both physical and non-physical things exist. So things like God and souls. And our scholar to begin with for that will be Plato, whereas our materialist scholar is Aristotle to begin with. And the last area of philosophy that we'll be looking at is metaphysics. Metaphysics is the study of the structure of reality. How is reality put together? How is it structured? We'll be looking at nominalism. Nominalists claim that particulars, concrete entities, that is, exist. So things in our normal lives that we are used to seeing and touching, like this red pen or that red rose. Each particular is unique, but shares common properties with other particulars. So, for example, this individual muffin there, that individual muffin over there, and they are both brown. They share the common property of being brown. Whereas the other school of thought, which is realism, claims that not only do those concrete particulars exist, but there are also really existing universals or abstract entities, such as redness, roseness, triangularity, and they have a real existence. The particulars are said to instantiate, partake in, participate in, or possess various universals to differing degrees, or not at all. So, for example, the muffin instantiates the universal brownness, and it also instantiates the universal muffinness. The universal muffinness, being a muffin, is instantiated by all of the muffins, whereas the universal brownness, being brown, is only instantiated by some of the particular muffins and to differing degrees. So some of the muffins are browner and therefore instantiate brownness better than other muffins, which are less brown or not brown at all. Each universal is unique, but is instantiated or possessed by many different particulars. So, for example, many things instantiate the universal redness, a red rose, a red crab, a red fire engine, and so on. Our nominalist scholar to begin with will be Aristotle, and our realist scholar to begin with will be Plato.
This video has been brought to you by Jest Education. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to find out more.